Good evening, everyone, and delighted to have M Vishakha here with us, who's MD and CEO of IndiaFirst Life. She's not only broken the glass ceiling, I think you've kissed the sky in some senses. It's been, what, 8 years since you've been MD and CEO? 9 years. That's incredible. But before we get down, I just noticed that your name, you just put your initials, RM Vishakha. Is there a message in that? Your husband's name is missing, everything.
I think that's what makes you an experienced journalist, right? You caught on to the right thing. You know, in India, caste is still a very much known devil. And I was a South Indian, got married to a North Indian. And then when I started using my surname, everybody would attribute me, Acha, aap ye hai, and Acha, aap wo ho. I just didn't want to be typecasted from a community and a caste. I did not want to be typecasted for gender. Similarly, I did not want to be typecasted for a community. I said, I'll leave you guessing as to who I am, and I'm Vishakha. And that's it. So I would not use my surname because I don't like the generalizations that come with it and the typecasting. People automatically assume who you are without even knowing you.
So let's give her a warm round of applause just for that, breaking that particular ceiling as well. But coming to being a CEO, and if you take a look at the ratio, maybe only 1 out of 10 women reach the boardroom and CEO level. How tough was it? Were there a lot of biases that happened?
Becoming a CEO?
Yes.
I can laugh about it today, but there were many tears I shed. I was one down to CEO for over 9 years without ever being considered for a CEO position. Even this CEO position, when it came up, there was a long list. I made it to the long list because one of my friends called me and said, listen, why don't you call the consultant? And from the long list of 20, I never made it to the short list of 5. Luckily for me, Legal and General, which was our partner, had a policy that you need at least one woman candidate in the reckoning. So I got moved to the 5. Then from 5 to 3 to 1 was, you know, what I keep saying. You give a woman an opportunity, she will prove that she can do it. You know, but give her that opportunity. So that's the story of how I got it. But yes, I wasn't even considered. I was passed over so many times just because, I did not get a position as head of sales, and much later because I knew someone who knew someone, I said, I really want to know why I was not selected, because it can be very humiliating and it can lead to a lot of loss of confidence when you don't get jobs that you ask for. Then the response came back to me and said, no, Vishakha, when they looked at you, they said, if all of you are familiar with Hindi, they said, ye aurat hai, ये गाली गलौच नहीं दे सकती है, ये sales क्या करवाएगी? So basically dismissing me of not being able to be aggressive or assertive just because I will not abuse or I cannot abuse. I don't even know where the logic is in that because Touchwood, we've run a very successful company. We moved from whatever. But yeah, there are a lot of prejudices. Which you see like this.
And what kept you going? What was it that said, okay, there's a lot of these things that's happening. How do I stay the course? Because a lot of other women would like to learn from what your example is.
So basically there are 2 things. One is my father was, a hardcore never say die person. I grew up with work is worship as an adage. My mother was very clear that there's no way that I cannot work. It was you have to be financially independent, you have to do your best, you do whatever you can do, and then let it go. You know, if you get it, you get it, you don't get it, you don't get it, you sit and cry if you don't get it, which is fine, but get up and go back. I think resilience, people think about resilience as something that you're born with, but resilience is really an attitude that you develop.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what I grew up developing, resilience. Get up, go back. You just get up and go back. You have so many management books today which can articulate what I'm saying much better. But I can articulate it from a feeling of saying that you have only your conscience to answer to. And as long as you are answering to your conscience that you have done your best, it's okay. You win some, you lose some, you carry on.
Well, coming to something that every woman faces, and I'm sure you did at some point, which was this, what we call work-life balance in some senses, okay? Work family, work this. Was your husband supportive? Were your children supportive? How did where were you drawing your strength from?
Um, I don't know how this is going to resonate with people, but honestly, it's not about anybody else being supportive.
Right.
It is, are you comfortable in your own skin about how good a wife you've been, or how good a daughter-in-law you've been, or how good a mother have you been? And are you meeting your own standards as a professional, as what you owe to the organization, and what you owe to the kids? Having said which, there are some very endearing moments in my life which gave me the support I needed. I will always quote this to my son. There was a day when my in-laws had come over, so he had, aloo parathas for lunch. And when I went back home in the evening, he was telling me about the garam parathas he had. And, all of us mothers brought up with the sole intention that we have to feed hot food to our children, right? I don't know where we get this from, but we all believe that until we feed our children hot meals, we haven't done our duty. But anyway, so there was that twinge in me, and I said, and I was sitting down and helping him with an economics project on the impact of the bullion. Okay, that's what we were doing. And I was feeling a regret about not having made parathas for him. So he turns around and he says, Mom, Amma feeds my stomach. You feed my brain.
Wow.
Wow. I think those are things that kept you going, for sure.
Right.
Even if, but the more battles, very honestly, Raj, the battles have to be fought within yourself, within your own conditioning, within your own upbringing, your own value system. You were not there when the child fell and hurt himself. Are you going to blame yourself? And I think that's the own internal battles that you fight.
So how did you work that battle out? In your mind, how did you come to this phase? What was it that, the philosophy behind that approach?
So initially it was very easy because coming from a middle class family, the money was important. Having double income family was definitely a better lifestyle than a single income. So the initial 5-10 years was easy because we needed the money, so there was no question of it. And after that, I think it was, it's a very philosophical attitude, okay? And this is something that I got from my dad. My dad would say, everybody cannot do everything. Some people can do something. So whatever you have been given, if you do not utilize it fully, then you are doing nature an injustice. So if you have been given talents to be a professional and a mother and a wife, you should play all the roles. When you don't do everything and you don't stretch yourself till you find your limit, then you are actually doing a disservice to everything that's been given to you. So I think it was that constant urge to say, what is that limit? If any of you have ever fine-tuned a string instrument, and we've got a brilliant player sitting here who can probably experiential learning. But when you string an instrument and you keep fine-tuning it, I used to play the veena, so there is a limit where you can't go beyond this. Right. And you have just that right tautness to play the perfect music. And each of us are like that. We need to find what is our perfect tautness, and so that we can play our best music.
Which I think, yes, very well put, very beautifully put. Which segues us, I mean, we have little time as the clock ticks pretty fast.
I know.
But you've mentored a lot of young women. What would your advice be, particularly if they're in their 30s or so and they're aspiring to reach the top? And of course, that's the time there's a certain conflict that arises. They're getting married, and you even have employers not taking you on at that particular age. What is your experience of that, and what is your advice to younger women?
I want to tell all women, honestly, that whether we like it or not, we have certain hormonal changes that come within us, right? When you are in your late 20s, early 30s, that's how nature has made us. That's why the world continues because of women. So there will be that nurturing instincts that kick in. And those nurturing instincts can be overwhelming, and they let you forget all about careers, they let you forget all about your training, and just want to make you have a baby, honestly, because that's how powerful nature is. I think it's very critical for women to remember that like everything in life, those hormonal changes too will pass. This too will pass. And then 5 years later, when you don't have those raging, nurturing instincts, you're going to sit back and regret decisions that you made in those uh, high hormone period. And I think I would like to tell people to understand that don't make decisions of a lifetime, which is regarding your career, which is regarding your profession, in those temporary periods of natural changes or cycles within your body. And I personally, that's one of the things that I want to set out on, saying just hand-holding women from their 30s to their late 30s, get over that period and stay the course, because that can be the worst period. You leave a 6-month-old baby, 7-month-old baby at home, you have you have instincts, you have bodily changes, you have fluids coming in from everywhere, and you have to be able to overcome all of that and focus on your work. But those 2, 3 years, 4 years, if women can stay the course, okay, and then the corporate India will gain so much. And I believe we are caught in this vicious cycle today of not having enough women at the leadership, so not being able to make women-friendly policies,
Right.
therefore not being able to get women on board, and therefore again not having enough women in the leadership. We don't have a pipeline, because most people in the pipeline fall out when they have these nurturing instincts that come up. It's very hard. I tell my male colleagues, if you think of all the challenges you have, all of that is what the woman has, plus something that nature gives her, plus something society gives her, plus something her own upbringing gives her. So keep all of that factor and have empathy only on that basis. I think I'll tell women, please realize that you have cycles and don't make decisions for a lifetime on the basis of temporary cycles.
And last 8 seconds, but we'll extend it to 30 seconds. If you pushed your life back, for some, you had this thing, you could go back in time and become young all over again. You're not very old, sorry. I am. But if you had to do that, what would be the 3 or 4 things you'd say, I will do this now? And this is, of course, advice for the young women, that is. Anything different?
Oh, interesting. I never did really think of it like that, because I work on the principle that at the point of time when you make a decision, you make the best decision possible based on the information available to you at that time. Okay? None of us want to be failures. None of us want to make wrong decisions. None of us want to do things that are going to harm us. Okay? So whatever wisdom you had at that point of time, you would make decisions on that basis. But if I had to use wisdom that I have today and apply it in hindsight, I think I would have more self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
I would not be as defensive or offensive that I used to be. I would range between resisting a feedback or and which was offensive, or accepting a feedback and saying, oh, I'm useless. Just that self-esteem to know what are the things I'm really good at and what are my areas of improvement, and to accept and say, fine, I understand these are my areas of improvement, but you know what? These are all the areas I'm really good at. That's self-esteem. And I think that's such a rare commodity, because we never taught to appreciate ourselves holistically, accepting the good and accepting the flaws. So I would, I think, have far more self-esteem if I went back in time than I do now. And thank you for asking the question.
And thank you very much for sharing your inner thoughts, insights. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give Vishakha a very, very warm round of applause for this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And that was hugely insightful for so many young women out there, so many takeaways.